We've spent the last few years watching AI coding assistants write functions, debug scripts, and autocomplete our thoughts. But anyone who builds software knows the friction that comes next. You ask an AI to refactor a massive codebase, and halfway through, it forgets your architecture. You ask it to test an internal app, and it hits a wall because there's no API. Or you set it on a long task, step away from your desk, and return to find it paused, waiting for you to manually click Approve. The March 2026 Claude Code update addresses three primary engineering targets: memory limits, interface barriers, and constant human supervision. Each update was designed to dismantle a specific bottleneck. Removing these roadblocks transforms the tool into a proactive digital employee that manages its own workflow. The first major hurdle is the memory bottleneck. When you feed a complex project into an AI, the context window, the total amount of information it can hold in its head, fills up quickly, causing the model to lose track of the overarching architecture mid-task. This geometric chart shows the scale of Claude's new context window, scaling up to 1 million tokens. That is roughly 750,000 words, the equivalent of all 7 books in the Harry Potter series, held in active memory. Pair that with a newly doubled output limit of 128,000 tokens, and Claude can read and write massive amounts of code in a single unbroken response. To manage all that data without getting confused, Anthropic introduced a background process called Dream. Much like human sleep, Claude autonomously scans its recent sessions, prunes outdated files, and reorganizes its own memory into neatly categorized folders while you work. Because this memory is deeply organized, you can query it directly. If Claude is running a long research task and you need a quick piece of information, typing the "by the way" command opens a side panel. Claude answers your question using its stored context without interrupting the primary ongoing job. Automating its own file management allows Claude to maintain high-fidelity context across entire enterprise architectures, protecting the session from the context collapse that often derails large-scale tasks. This schematic flowchart shows the historical interface bottleneck, where a digital pathway halts at a broken API bridge. For years, AI agents were trapped behind these barriers, unable to interact with legacy systems or visual-only applications that lack a programmatic way to communicate. Anthropic routes directly around this with a feature called computer use. If a button is on your screen, Claude can click it. It visually interprets the desktop, opens apps, and fills out forms exactly like a human user would, requiring zero back-end integration. The practical application of this is App Preview. Claude can spin up a sidebar in your workspace, connect to your running web app, and visually inspect what it just built. It simulates user interactions, clicks Get Started buttons, reads console errors, and catches bugs by actually looking at the software interface. By circumventing the API requirement, Claude is no longer restricted to text-based coding. It can operate any visual software that exists on a screen. The final barrier is the human bottleneck. Until now, autonomous coding workflows frequently ground to a halt because the AI had a permission check and had to wait for a developer to manually click Approve. To solve this friction, Anthropic introduced Auto Mode. Before taking action, Claude invokes a completely separate safety AI classifier. This secondary model independently verifies if a task, like editing a non-sensitive file, is low risk and self-approves it instantly. Developers can push this further with the loop and schedule commands. You can instruct Claude to ping a dashboard every 5 minutes or schedule a task to execute on Anthropic's cloud servers, completely untethering the work from your local machine. This untethering extends to code review. Claude can now spin up multiple sub-agents, separate instances of the model running in parallel, to analyze pull requests. One agent checks for security vulnerabilities, another evaluates performance, and a third ensures code correctness, all operating simultaneously. If this autonomous system hits a high-risk roadblock, it uses a feature called Permission Relay to ping you remotely. By integrating channels like Telegram or Discord, Claude sends a message straight to your phone, where you can review the action and tap Approve or Deny from wherever you are. Combining self-approval for routine tasks with remote smartphone relays means a developer's physical presence at the terminal is no longer a requirement for continuous progression. Look at a terminal running Claude Code today, and you'll see a system operating entirely on its own. A self-cleaning memory system, API-free visual control, and a remote approval pipeline provide a new level of continuity. These features solve many of the interruptions that historically slowed down AI-assisted coding. This shifts the daily reality of the developer. You are no longer acting as a typist, executing manual lines of code. You are stepping into the role of a manager, orchestrating a digital team that operates around the clock. This transition shifts the value of the AI tool from mere typing speed to the level of autonomous execution. We are approaching a state where development is defined by high-level direction rather than manual syntax.